Hi, Tim. Good morning.
Morning to you. Let me jump straight into it. We're June 2026, right? Now
Yes.
we've been at quite a few big software conferences and events this year.
hmm
And I think they all have one thing in common. It's all about AI as the main topic, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So let's take this for the records, maybe in a few years when we look back. What was the topic in June 2026 and see where it goes. But now you recently returned back from Sapphire in Madrid.
Yes, yes, I
So
did.
maybe just first, tell us a bit what is Sapphire actually about?
Sapphire is let's say, the SAP conference for users and customers and partners, the ecosystem. The
Mm-hmm.
SAP big conference that do annually. In fact, that do in the recent years they have been doing first in the US. This year it was first in Orlando, and then followed by the week after in Europe, and it was Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is where the let's say the whole SAP ecosystem comes together. So on one platform, from the top management of SAP, the partner ecosystem, including OpenText and others, and
Mm-hmm.
more importantly, customers. All right, and where we all then discuss and see what's the new things happening and what are the latest in the market on share experiences, yeah, and have some fun as well, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
was that's what it is. There is the
Of
SAP big
course.
event of the year.
Yeah. Okay. So big in size.
It's big in size, yes. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but it was in the yeah, I would imagine 8-10,000 people,
Participants. Okay.
participants in
Yeah.
total, with the
All right. All right.
yeah massive preparations going on there.
Good. Now, what made you, let's say, decide to go there?
uh, Interesting question. Now, as you know, we, as part of our business, we do work with the SAP portfolio of OpenText, Vim primarily, but not limited.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the recent years, with everything happening under the umbrella of AI, as I call it, a lot of interesting changes have been happening, right? And both technically as well as functionally. And more, we have been discussing in recent days with the SAP over the last 1-2 years, with SAP itself in this region, about how we can add more value, yeah, to the SAP offering towards the customer, right? But from our position of strength, and that also means to closely align with SAP's strategy and their offering, what they're coming out now. So in a way, that was the main driver, and in collaboration with SAP, we decided it was the best that we joined them in Sapphire this year. And I'm glad it did, because the other angle was for me to understand how is the the ecosystem taking it. What is the view of the ecosystem? One thing is to understand what is the software vendor doing, but
Mm-hmm.
how does the ecosystem, the customers, the partners, how are they, what's their view? So for me, that was the two main criteria to go and attain, to first hear from SAP what's going on and how they plan things, and since look at the colleagues and the peers, and yeah, and just to understand, have a pulse of the things.
Mm-hmm. And now looking back, was it worthwhile traveling
Definitely,
and
yeah,
spending
yeah,
all the
yeah.
days
So
there?
I'm so glad looking back, because initially I was, to be honest, a bit of double mind. Should I not? It's too big, right? I mean, as I said, is too big, and but looking back, it was definitely worthwhile. And personally, it was like connecting with a lot of old colleagues. Yeah, because I come from the SAP ecosystem before my open text days, right? So almost every 10 minutes you run into an old colleague from your past days. So that was on a personal
Yeah.
note, right? By
Yeah.
connecting to people who are also in different phases of their life compared to where we were when we worked together.
Mm-hmm.
Second was, I think, for the first time, I had the I could visualize in my mind what is the vision for enterprise automation or autonomous enterprise. Till then, now it was kind of very academic and theoretical. Yeah, we had elements in play, Gen AI, LLM, but how do they translate to concrete use cases? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so how do you visualize all this in play? So, and SAP did a very good job in demonstrating that the vision, what they call autonomous AI. They did some big announcements around it,
Mm-hmm.
but at least it made things in clear in my head for the next 5 to 10 years. what is the play? Yeah, what
mm,
does it concretely bring to an end user, whether it's a finance, a supply chain, a warehouse person? What does it concretely mean? Because to be honest, before I had this clarity in my head, it was a bit fuzzy, and things that are fuzzy are sometimes scary.
mm,
Now I have more clarity. Actually, I'm excited than being scared because I
mm,
see opportunities, right? When I
mm,
now things are clear in my head, I see concrete use cases that can be applied. And definitely from a high level, that was very, very useful. The second thing is I got a chance to look under the hood.
mm,
Yeah, exactly. What does it mean technically? What does it mean with the Joule agents? What does it mean with the workspaces coming in? And then third, talking to the customers, which I would have normally not done because these are not my customers. Neither are they from our region. So you just
mm,
bump into them while in a network party or in having lunch. Then those conversations where I learned a lot. Right?
mm.
How are people dealing with in the same problems as we deal with? Right? And then that was an exchange of ideas, which I think was invaluable. Oh, what happened?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
think we had a small technical hitch, but
know. Okay.
no
All
worries.
right.
You can hear me still?
Yes, I do. I
Yeah,
do. I don't know.
yeah. All right. Now, from what you just said, these interactions with the customers. Now, do you see, let's say, commonalities, or is it kind of okay? One big enterprise in a certain industry, in a certain geography, is thinking totally different from another one. Or do you see some kind of like a common thread?
Both. I mean, there is definitely commonality. If you
Mm,
take the classic ERP process, right, which is more financial and backend,
mm,
to a large extent, that's common,
mm,
right? I mean, the classic way of how do you do order to cash compared to and do account to reporting, that's pretty much standard. I mean, with some variations. Then comes the differentiator, which is the actual supply chain, right, where you get your goods, add value, produce it or turn it to services. That's where the differentiator lies, and that is different from company to company, industry to industry, region to region. And I think they are trying to put AI in a way to all these, right? First of all,
mm,
the backend services, what I call ERP, the system of records, so to speak,
mm,
but also towards the business driver. Yeah, how do they medical companies are trying to use AI for faster yeah go to market for their products, right? Let's say
mm,
medicines, or do network planning for logistics companies and so on.
mm,
And then the finance departments are also trying to say, how can I close my month faster?
mm,
Yeah, so everyone is looking at it from their own comfort zone.
mm,
SAP, for example, had some good demos where they took the theme of the World Cup coming up in the US
mm,
soon or this month, and they were saying, okay, the use case where they were planning for that World Cup, building stadiums and so on. So
mm,
there you had procurement, planning. That was one use case. Then there was another use case where, yeah, an operational stadium, things have to work, right? Toilets and pipes and all everything
mm,
else. Now, if something fails and the match is going on, that's not good. So how do you then real time automate it? So then there was this Boston Dynamics dog going around sniffing and taking pictures, and basically sensors, right? Trying to
mm,
figure out what's going wrong. It then feeds the system behind in SAP and product, and then EWM and warehouse planning and everything is connected, and then
mm,
the system is taking over. That was a use case, a demo, but at least that shows in a way how different parts are being thought parallelly.
mm,
So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it is a common,
mm,
some common and some have the
mm,
specialization.
mm. All right, super interesting. So when then, let's say, reflecting it or mirroring it to our business and ourselves, what's the view there? Also excitement, or
Indeed,
are
my
are still scary?
no man, my takeaway from the Sapphire trip is everything is AI, and as I said, the clarity comes to my mind because AI till now, even personally myself, I wasn't the impression this is about LLM and language models, or do you use, I don't know, ChatGPT, OpenAI, or Google Gemini. But what is becoming clear to me is not about the model. At least
Mm,
the business problems we deal with don't all need AI to be solved. what is interesting now is under the AI umbrella, the ecosystem being available to us makes us do things much faster and in a different way compared to what we were doing before. And I
mm,
have come back and prototyped a few things. For example, take the agentic AI.
mm,
Now, agentic AI by definition doesn't need AI. It allows you to create agents using tools that didn't exist before.
mm,
Now, for a particular case, I might choose to use an AI model to process large amount of data. But how much large amount of data do we really need in a classic ERP case?
mm,
But the agent coming into the workflow makes a huge difference. And that ecosystem, how I now envision, is going to be a game changer. Coupled with the fact the way you interact with the system, because classically we have been trained to think of screens and transactions and apps, how you interact. But there's a concept being already popularized, which SAP also declared now into their software called it is called headless ERP, right, or appless ERP, and SAP now calls it workspaces, Joule Work,
mm,
which essentially is a conversational interface. Like you either type or you speak.
mm,
You don't go from app to app or screen to screen to do your things, and then the I don't call it AI, let's call it the agent. Yeah, if I
mm,
will call it the agent or agents behind will interpret what you are saying and do necessary with the underlying systems and present you with the data. And
mm,
that changes the paradigm.
mm,
Yeah, and many of these doesn't need real AI models, but we can piggyback on the architecture. We can create the agents, so to speak, and then
mm,
change the communication medium. I think that is a game changer in
mm,
my view.
mm. No, very interesting. And I know you're driving a few of these concrete initiatives.
Indeed, I mean, when I learned this and I got inspired, the first thing I decided is okay, let's solve some of our own problems in house because we do have see those same similar problems, albeit in a smaller scale than our big enterprise customers, but their problem nevertheless.
Mm,
So if I take us as our first internal customer and solve it for us using these new tools, then it's a matter of scaling. Then we can definitely go to the customer and say, look, we solved it for us. Maybe we can help you with theirs as well.
mm. No, very interesting. So it also means next year you would be motivated to go again, or?
I'm just still processing my Madrid trip. Yes, everything if everything works well, I would definitely be open.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
but that also another thing that brought to my attention is uh, maybe there is also other events we have not been prioritizing or paying attention to worth considering.
Mm,
Yeah, so there with as I said, things are changing, which means new things are coming up that we didn't know exist before. So when we do the calendar planning for next year, I mean, definitely Sapphire will be
mm,
on that to consider. But maybe I will also bring up a few other events might considering, and then we decide which ones and who goes where.
mm.
Because this is definitely some good food for thought I got from that trip.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we've always been, let's say, out there
Yeah,
attending events. We've always seen return. I think the ones we've attended this year, it is beyond expectations, right? So I
sure.
think really good returns, and also very happy with what you've just been telling about the SAP Sapphire experience. But indeed, I think it's especially because things are quickly changing to
Mhm.
have that combination to what do we see and hear on stage, and how do we talk, to the people in the audience that actually are targeted to then use it, and how do they see it,
Mm.
right? And it is that connection of dots where I think we've always been very good at,
Yeah, yeah,
to shape our own, let's say, value proposition and added value in this ecosystem. So
indeed,
all right,
indeed,
all
indeed.
right. Good, but very exciting to see the. I mean, for this year, I think the calendar is more or less defined on where
Yeah,
we'll be
yeah,
going, and we'll keep everybody updated. We'll see that on our channels where we will go next later in the year. But definitely for next year, I guess not less, but only more of us to come in that space.
absolutely, absolutely,
Good.
absolutely.
Thanks a lot for today, Sid.
Thank you,
Pleasure
Tim.
as always.
My pleasure as well. And have a nice rest of the day.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.